as the Broncos are going a negative direction when it comes to their injury report, the Eagles are going in a very, very positive direction.
Football 24/7 on this Veterans Day with NFL insider John McMullen. And we come to you live. It's our last opportunity before Football Friday to talk about the Denver Broncos. And, of course, every Thursday night, Johnny Mac, I gather for a special edition of the Countdown to Kickoff show at Screwballs out in King of Prussia. Any veterans who are from the Philadelphia region who come out to Screwballs tonight, it would be my honor to pick up the tab on your meal, and I'll treat you to the Army-Navy game in December, which this year will be up at MetLife Stadium. Standing invitation. We honor all of those men and women who have served. I thank you for jumping on this Football Thursday, Johnny Mac. We're closer. We're getting closer. This is your springboard to make me feel good about the Eagles' opportunity or the Eagles' chances on Sunday. Although, let's start there. Let's start there before I get long-winded and get down a rabbit hole on some of your opening thoughts after practice today and how you feel about going into the game on Sunday. It's one game at a time this week, Eagles Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty good, mainly from the standpoint of what's coming out from Denver, and that's a really, really banged-up football team. Today, report coming from the Denver Post that the Broncos are going to be without three of their starting offensive linemen, most notably their left tackle, Garrett Bolles. So they are really banged up. And they're coming off a big win in Dallas. They have a bye after the Eagles game, so you have the potential letdown effect. And then, as I kind of brought up, the Eagles only win football games on the road these days, and this game is on the road, so maybe that helps them out at least a little bit. But I think the main point of this is the Broncos are really, really banged up. And the guy's not playing this week. That doesn't even bring up players who haven't been there for a long time now. So in a lot of ways, I look at that defense, which is, one of the best in the NFL. And I wonder how Vic Fangio is accomplishing that without Bradley Chubb and Alexander Johnson and players like that. Von Miller obviously traded. Broncos have won 5 games, but you kind of wonder how they've done it and if they've done it with mirrors. Now, look, the Eagles are not a good football team. I mean, they're an improving team. Seems like they're figuring some things out at least. But I don't want to say that they can, just lock, stock, and barrel beat anybody who's got 5 wins. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but I do think they'll have an opportunity to win this football game because of where the Broncos are and how many players they're going to be missing.
Try and make a little bit of an adjustment here on the fly until I shift away from that large screen TV that was perhaps a little irritable. So let me change. This is a good panoramic view of Screwballs. Great spot here on a Thursday night. Hopefully that's a little bit better for our viewers. I'm trying to figure that out after, in reference to your conversation, after we talked on Football 24/7 last night, and we talked a lot about Vic Fangio. And I'm trying to figure out what kind of football team this Denver Bronco team is. At one point, they lost 4 games in a row, and now they've put together a string of victories. including, I don't want to say they crushed the Dallas Cowboys last week.
Oh, they crushed them.
They crushed them. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing, and that's why I look at it. The Broncos are playing with a number of, as I said, really, really young players, especially in the front seven on defense. They're going to start at least two rookies, and that's Baron Browning and Jonathan Cooper, who's kind of been the pass rushing replacement for Von Miller. And they've been putting together, I mean, they are top 10 in every single meaningful defensive category versus the run, versus the pass. So they've been really, really consistent. They're second in points allowed, which is the biggest statistic of them all. Now, they do have much more depth in the secondary. It's a very good secondary with Justin Simmons and Kareem Jackson at safety. Kyle Fuller, Ronald Darby, our old friend at corner, Patrick Surtain as well, the rookie who the Eagles had a ton of interest in. But, man, you look at how good this team might have been, and the fact that, as I mentioned, they traded Von Miller. So, but Bryce Callahan is a good slot corner. He's on injured reserve. Alexander Johnson is their best linebacker, maybe one of the most underrated linebackers in the NFL. He's on injured reserve. Josie Jewell's on injured reserve. He's typically a starter. Bradley Chubb's on injured reserve. He's their most notable edge rusher without Von Miller. Graham Glasgow is a typical starter on the offensive line that is now on injured reserve. And as I mentioned, Garrett Bowles is not going to play on the offensive line, their left tackle. Just tons of injuries. Bobby Massey is not going to play. Another of their starting right tackle. You got to give Vic Fangio a lot of credit. And it's interesting because, there were people saying he might get fired at the bye before the Cowboys game, and especially if the Cowboys game went really in a negative direction, because a lot of people out there thought the Cowboys would blow out the Broncos, and the exact opposite happened. So there's a lot of question marks. Another old friend of ours, Pat Shurmur, is the offensive coordinator. He's under fire. Kind of amazing this team has won 5 games.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Anytime, of course, just because of my love, Johnny Mac, for Virginia Tech, anytime that I see Kyle Fuller, the last name Fuller, anytime I see a Fuller as one of the corners, I love Virginia Tech, and I just think that entire Fuller family is a bunch of great football players. They know how to ball hawk the football.
Yeah, it's interesting, and Kyle's one of those guys who probably has not played up to his reputation, I would say, and it's probably one of their disappointments, because they were expecting a lot from him this year. I know Pro Football Focus has him way down. I'm trying to look it up as we talk, Krausey. Let's see. Kyle Fuller is 116 of 117 of the graded corners in this league. So he has not played well, but they're really excited about Patrick Surtain, who is a guy that many people thought the Eagles would take at number 10 overall. But remember, the corners that the Eagles were interested in, Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn, went right before them, and they had to go in a different direction. We've been talking a lot about Jonathan Gannon and, some of the personnel deficiencies he inherited, which are real. I mean, I think it's fair to point out the Eagles don't have a lot, especially on the back seven on defense. But I got to tell you, Vic Fangio has proven you can put together something greater than the sum of your parts. because he doesn't look like he's got a lot of parts right now, but they're top 10 in everything, including, as I said, the number one statistic of all points allowed. They allow 17 points a game. It's pretty amazing.
As we said, they beat the Dallas Cowboys. They also beat the Washington football team. They also beat the New York Giants. So the Eagles are the only team standing on the hill from the division, from the NFC East, that the Broncos haven't faced yet, obviously. We'll see what they do on Sunday. That ball hawking ability on defense, Johnny Mac, that you talked about, and that was on display just a week ago against Dak Prescott and that Dallas Cowboy offense, makes me wonder whether head coach Nick Sirianni what kind of offensive game plan he will use against the Denver Broncos. Will he give or rely on Jalen Hurts in this offense to throw the football more than Jalen did a week ago?
Yeah, and I've been talking about this all week. I think probably the most interesting part of this game is what Nick Sirianni's going to roll out there offensively, because I think we're going to get some questions answered as far as what he feels about Jalen Hurts. Because I think if you look at the first 6 games of this season for the Eagles, you saw what it was. Ton of read option, a lot of passing the football, a lot of screens to the receivers, bubble screens, hitches, things like that. Then all of a sudden, Las Vegas showed up, Detroit, the LA Chargers. All 3 of those teams have one thing in common: they can't stop the run. And to Nick Sirianni's credit, he ran the football. A lot of play action, more of a traditional NFL offense, with the quarterback doing a lot less throwing of the football. Well, I think Las Vegas is 28th against the run in the NFL. Detroit is 29th. Chargers are dead last at 32. And the Eagles averaged about 180 rushing yards per game against those 3 teams. Well, Denver's coming in number 6 against the run. They give up 98 yards a game running the football. You're not going to run for 180 against this team, in theory. So you're going to have to find some different ways to get offense. And you say, well, maybe Devontae Smith is starting to get moving, Dallas Goedert. Well, they're also 8 defending the pass. That's what I mean. Usually you have these teams that are good at one thing, poor at another. Not this team. 6th against the run, 8th against the pass, 6th overall, number 2 giving up points per game. Pretty good.
Football 24/7 with NFL insider John McMullen, as we broadcast to you with our Thursday edition on this Veterans Day, all presented by Stateside Vodka. Remember, go to statesidevodka.com, use the keyword JAKIB, get 15% off of the Stateside vodka soda. Johnny Mac, what kind of game did Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard have last week against that Broncos defense?
Well, nobody. The Broncos, and that's the amazing thing, because nobody saw that coming. I think we all looked at that game and said, okay, the Cowboys are a legitimate contender. As I said, the Broncos had started winning a few games, but I think nobody really took them seriously for the most part, especially in what is a very, very difficult division where there's obviously Kansas City has been a bit of a disappointment, but still, you know how talented they are. And, you know, Las Vegas has 5 wins. The Chargers have 5 wins. So everybody can do some things in that particular division, which is interesting. And I think everyone looked at Denver and said, okay, that's the weakest team in this particular division. And all of a sudden, you know, a lot of people thought, as I said, the Cowboys are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. It's 30-0 in Dallas. So you look at the final and say 30-16, similar to some of the Eagles games earlier this year. They scored 2 touchdowns late, one with 4 minutes left in the game, essentially, one with 55 seconds left in the game. And they had two two-point conversions. And you look at the final score, if you're not paying attention and you say, all right, it's pretty impressive, 30-16 either way, but it doesn't look like 30-0. I mean, this Broncos team waxed the Dallas Cowboys. They routed them. And I don't think there's a more surprising game in the NFL all season as far as how that one shook out.
Wow, good stuff. Good words from John McMullen here on Football 24/7 as we come to you across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. John, any updates, anything unusual as the team was back at practice today from an injury standpoint? Any update on Devontae? I know not that there was a major injury, but there was some issue yesterday. What's the latest there?
Yeah, all good news on the injury front. Devontae actually talked to us as well today. So his elbow is doing fine. He was a full participant today. He's going to play. As we kind of told you, that wasn't going to be a serious injury. But everybody was back in at least a limited participation status, and that the biggest news would be Avonte Maddox, who was limited, but he spoke to us today as well, so he's online to play. Darius Slay spoke to us yesterday, so he's online to play. Rodney McLeod was back as a full participant, so he's online to play as well. The one question mark remains Josh Sweat, because he's in the concussion protocol, but even he was a limited participant today, and that indicates he's moving through that protocol pretty quickly, and there's a good chance that he'll play as well. So as the Broncos are going a negative direction when it comes to their injury report, the Eagles are going in a very, very positive direction.
And Johnny Mac, let me ask you about, have we reached a point in the schedule where Brandon Brooks is going to come back and play anytime soon, or what do you know?
Yeah, we asked Nick Sirianni a couple times this week, and it's 8 weeks. So originally they talked about potentially 8 weeks on the shelf for Brandon, and this would be the 8th week. But Nick has not given a timetable, so it's getting closer, but there's no definitive timetable. And the Eagles, remember, until he returns to practice, because he's been out for such an extended period, it's not like he's going to show up on Wednesday and play on Sunday. It's probably going to be at least a couple week ramp up period. So until he gets on that practice field, and right now Nick Sirianni has not given an update when that's going to happen. So right now it's status quo, and that's Landon Dickerson at left guard, Jack Driscoll at right guard. And, you know, they're both young players who've struggled at times, but I think you're going to see this week, when I talked about the Broncos losing or being down 3 offensive linemen, you're going to see how other teams struggle when they lose starters on the offensive line.
From John McMullen here on Football 24/7 across the JAKIB Media YouTube channel on this Veterans Day Thursday. Again, we thank all of our men and women for playing and being part of the greatest team ever assembled in our great country. One last thing, Johnny Mac, I want to get from you tonight. Howie Roseman is going.
That might be the biggest story.
Is going on the road.
That might be the biggest story of them all. Yeah, Howie doesn't attend many college games these days. And he's going tonight to watch Kenny Pickett play, the Pitt quarterback. So there's about, I know there's 5 general managers that are going to be there tonight. It's Pitt against North Carolina. Howie Roseman is one of them. And Kenny Pickett, Sam Howell, North Carolina's quarterback, was entering the season, he had a lot of hype. It's been completely kind of usurped by Pickett, who looks like, at least at this stage, is going to be the number 1 quarterback prospect in this upcoming draft. And remember, you go on Twitter with these draft people, and I say, hey, a lot of them do good work, not trying to insult anybody, but at the end of the day, it matters what NFL people think. It matters. They're the guys picking the players. NFL people think Kenny Pickett is going to be a big-time quarterback in this league. So Eagles fans should pay a lot of attention to him tonight, because Howie does not travel, and he's traveled.
Has Howie ever traveled to a college game before?
Yeah, he used to go a lot more. In fact, the last time he did kind of extensive traveling was 2016 in Carson Wentz.
Okay.
That was the last time. And it was because they were trying to figure out the quarterback of the future. And all of a sudden he's on the road again. You can read those tea leaves.
Well, I made this statement to Xander the other day. Kenny Pickett is Carson Wentz all over again.
Well, I think people forget there's a Lombardi trophy in the lobby of the NovaCare complex that wasn't there before Carson Wentz got here.
Right. Great stuff from John McMullen here on Football 24/7. I wonder if Jalen Hurts will watch that football game tonight.
Jalen's probably going to be focused more on beating the Denver Broncos, but he knows.
Yeah.
He knows he's got to. He knows. Look, he's not the first quarterback in this league that has to deal with the potential of a team drafting his successor. It happens all the time. All you can do is control what you can control as a player. Coaches talk about it all the time. And if Jalen Hurts plays well, nobody's going to take him off the field. So that part of it is what he can control. And we've talked about it since the beginning of the season. The second half, the back half of the Eagles schedule is the easy part. And it could start in Denver. If you start putting together some wins, maybe the Eagles start thinking about fixing the defense instead of worrying about Kenny Pickett. Who knows?
By the way, even if Kenny Pickett ends up, when it's all said and done on draft night, as a Philadelphia Eagle, I think Jalen Hurts is the starter next year anyway.
Yeah, there's a potential. You want to bring along a rookie quarterback slowly. There's all kinds of ways the Eagles can go about this. They can go out and get a veteran. They've wanted Russell Wilson since, he got drafted. So there's a lot of ways they can go about this. Kenny Pickett is just one of them. It is just interesting that Howie Roseman is making the short trip out to see him. So obviously, you have to do your due diligence on the potential top quarterback in the draft, and Sam Howell as well. I mean, who knows? They might draft Sam Howell in the second round or the third round if he falls to be the backup to Jalen Hurts. A lot of ways to look at this.
Great stuff. We roll on here on Football 24/7 with NFL insider John McMullen. Back on Birds 365 tomorrow, Johnny Mac?
Yeah, Football Friday edition. We got Mike Kay from NJ.com, and it's a Friday, so we got Game Day Ed Kratz as well.
All right, good stuff for Football Friday tomorrow here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. We end again with our big thank you to all the men and women who have served in our country in the greatest team that was ever assembled. And remember, if you're a veteran and you can get the King of Prussia tonight, be my honor to treat you to dinner and treat you to the 2021 Army-Navy game.
Army-Navy. Can't beat that.
Up at MetLife Stadium this year, December 11th. Good stuff, Johnny Mac. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, Krausey. Appreciate it.
See you next time, everybody.